Warlocks, it's your turn. Today, we're going to be looking at your new Strand aspect, the Wanderer, and how we can make good use of it by using other things with our Strand subclass that plays heavily into the suspending debuff that we can apply to players and champions and any other target you wish to just leave hanging out in the middle of the sky. Before we get into that though, please like, comment, and subscribe as that helps a ton more than you could ever imagine. And let's have a quick word from our sponsors. The first thing that we're going to look at is the new aspect itself, the Wanderer, which will allow us to throw our tangles, have them stick to targets, and then explode, suspending targets that are damaged, and also allows threadling final blows to make a tangle. This, alongside the other classes' new Strand aspects, are obtained from the Puka Pond on Neptune after completing the quest from Nimbus that has you helping Osiris with unraveling more information about the Veil. This aspect gives us more versatility with our tangles and gives us another way to easily suspend these targets, which is great because, like I said in my Hunter video and in the beginning of this one, suspending targets is insanely powerful, and it is one of the best debuffs in the game next to freezing. A good exotic to pair with this aspect would be the Swarmers, as it will allow your tangles to make threadlings and your threadlings to make tangles with the aspect. However, we aren't making a build that heavily uses threadlings. Instead, we're leaning into heavily suspending everything that we look at as part of this aspect. So we're going to pair it with Necrotic Grips, which has the perk Grasp of the Devourer. Damaging combatants poisons them, dealing increasing damage over time. Defeating a poisoned combatant spreads the condition, provides a moderate benefit to airborne effectiveness of all weapons of sorrow. This poison effect is mostly going to be applied by our melee and one other thing. With our melee, we get 3 charges of the Arcane Needle, and it does some pretty good damage and applies a severing effect. The other way we're going to be able to spread this poison is with our weapon, which is going to be Osteo Striga, which comes with the exotic perk Screaming Swarm. Fires a stream of sentient toxic projectiles that track the targeted enemy. This is a pretty good perk, as the tracking on this weapon is actually pretty decent. Even inside of PvP, it can get you some pretty cool kills from around corners. It also has the trait Toxic Overload. Landing a final blow or multiple precision hits triggers a burst that poison nearby targets. This plays heavily into Necrotic Grips and its damage over time poisoning combatants, as that's going to allow it to spread even further. And finally, we have the Catalyst that overflows the mag when getting poison kills. Again, with this and Necrotic Grips, we're going to be poisoning everything, which can lead to a magazine with well over 100 bullets to spray at any target you wish. And while spraying those bullets, any targets you kill with poison is going to then apply back to your magazine, refilling it while you're still shooting it, which is extremely helpful. As for our artifact, it's going to be very simple. First, we're going to take the melee and strand mod unlocked, which will make those related mods much cheaper, and with our Arcane Needle and its 3 charges, this is going to be very helpful in doing things with that's going to feed back into our build. We are then going to take Improved Unraveling, which will increase the damage dealt by unraveling targets. There's a bunch of ways to unravel targets from abilities, fragment, aspect, but the easiest way to do that this season will be with the next mod we have, which is Strand Soldier, which when we get Woven Mail at any capacity, our strand weapons will be granted unraveling round when we have our strand subclass equipped. Now, Osteo Striga is a kinetic weapon, but I was using the circular logic machine gun in my heavy slot to play into this strand soldier and improved unraveling setup. If you don't have the circular logic machine gun, I would still take these in case you wish to switch it out for any other weapon that plays heavily into our strand build. The final mod that I want to put into this build later is going to be Squad Goals, which when performing a finisher with either Devour, Amplified, or Woven Mail with the respective subclass, it will grant those buffs to your allies. Since we're trying to keep our own Woven Mail up, we can give it to our allies as well, which we can easily do with our class setup. For our aspects, we already went over the Wanderer at the beginning of the video, which will allow us to throw our tangles to have them suspend targets. The other aspect we're going to take is Mind Spend Invocation, which allows us to consume our shackle grenades to grant us Weaver's Trance. Final blows with Weaver's Trance active will cause suspending detonation. With the poison being spread from our exotic combo, these suspending detonations will be happening constantly. So for our fragments, let's first look at Thread of Generation. Dealing damage grants grenade energy with a -10 to discipline. The DOT from Osteo and Necrotic Grips means our grenades will come back extremely fast, as each time it spreads, it'll add another instance of this fragment. Even after the nerf at the beginning of the season with the DOT combo, it is still one of the best fragments not only on our Strand subclass but probably in the game. Thread of Fury. Damaging targets with a tangle grants melee energy with a -10 to strength. With the ability to throw our tangle with the Wanderer, we'll be able to get melee energy back with a ease as these things detonate from throwing them and attaching them to targets, meaning we will be able to throw more melees out with the 3 charges of our Arcane Needle and have it apply that poison effect from Necrotic grips just as easily as shooting Osteo Striga. Thread of Warding. Picking up an Orb of Power grants Woven Mail with a -10 to Resilience. Just by picking up an orb, we will be granted Woven Mail, which will give us a 40% damage reduction inside of PvP, alongside the bonuses we get from the artifact, which when we pick up an orb, we will get Woven Mail, which will then give us Unraveling rounds, which we can then do more damage, in my case with simply just my machine gun. Also inside of PvP, this reduces flinch by a substantial amount, and you take less damage to your body, but headshots are still going to do the maximum amount of damage and still going to flinch you the most. And the last fragment we're going to look at is Thread of Transmutation. While you have Woven Mail, Weapon Final Blows create a tangle with a +10 to our strength. This will help us get a tangle to throw as much as possible when they're off their ridiculously long cooldown, which we can use to make the suspending explosions with the Wanderer and get melee back from Thread of Fury, which is again very helpful because we have those 3 charges of the Arcane Needle, and it's always nice to always have one up to apply the poison from Necrotic grips. For our armor mods on our helmet, we are going to start with 2 stacks of Hands On. Like I've said before, we have 3 of these melees, so we're going to use them to get our super back very quickly, and if we use Necrotic grips and the poison effect from specifically our melee gets the kill, it will count for Hands On. Also going to run Kinetic Siphon, so Osteo and its poison effect can make us orbs to feed into our other mod. For our arms, we have Heavy Handed, as we will make orbs from our melee and the poison from Necrotic grip, with the severing from Arcane Needle itself will also help us out a ton. Impact Induction, so when we do damage with our melee, we can get up to 20% of our grenade back in order to consume them and keep Weaver Trance up for the suspending explosion, which will lead us into Grenade Kickstart in order to consume stacks of armor charge to get more grenade energy back for the same reason for that Weaver's Trance. On our chest, we simply have Charged Up and our usual resist mods. On our legs, we have Stacks on Stacks to get max stacks of armor charge faster for our Grenade Kickstart. I also have Invigoration and Innervation, so when we pick up orbs, we'll get energy back to both our grenade and our melee. If you want to switch these out for the ones that heal you, you absolutely can. And on our bond, we have Reaper, so we can get orbs from getting kills after placing our Rift. I also ran Powerful Attractor, so when we place our Rift, we can suck up all the nearby orbs and feed into our mod setup. And finally, for our last mod, you can run anything you want. I ran Bomber to maximize my grenade generation for Mindspun Invocation, so I can have Weaver's Trance up pretty much at all times, so this way it's just a whole room of suspended targets. But with that, that is the end of our build video. I hope you enjoyed it. I know this was a pretty popular build last season, and with the Wanderer, it only gets better, as now we can double down on all the suspensions with Necrotic grips and Osteo Striga. So like, comment, and subscribe. Like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, it helps a ton. And don't forget, we do have that 1,000 subscriber giveaway going on once we reach 1,000 subscribers, so join our Discord to be part of that when it happens. Check out those links down in the description, and I'll see you guys in the next video.